Considering your last adventure, you split the Batmobile in two, so I did what I could to repair it. So, what'd you do, Alfred? Maybe you gave it some neon lights. I took the liberty of upgrading the car. It's small. It's a 3 3/4 scale vehicle, sir. It's supposed to be small. And it turned out quite well, You're fired. Perhaps you have not seen 1997's Batman and Robin. I was the highlight of that film. I'm dying of McGregor's syndrome. You're fired. I'll get my coat. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another video review from Fanboys Forever. Today I have the pleasure of reviewing the brand new 3 3/4 scale Spin Master Batmobile from the new Flash movie. Of course, this appears to be the same model of Batmobile from the 1989 classic film, and has probably even surpassed the 66 Batmobile as probably being the most recognizable form of the car in the world, debatably. So, I can't wait to see how Spin Master did with this. I do have some reservations about some of the decisions Spin Master made. From looking at it just right here, I can tell there's a few things that are going to be controversial. So let's get right into it. Of course, we have a long history of reviewing Spin Master's Batmobiles and many other Batmobiles here on this channel. So if you've never checked out any of our old Batmobile reviews, then please be sure to do so, because I think you'll find something that you like. And of course, be sure to check out all my other reviews of the Flash Spin Master products that have been shipping and the McFarlane products that have been shipping. So first things first, let's look at the packaging. I really like all this vibrant red and yellow packaging because it contrasts so well with all the Batman items that we're getting. The toy companies were not fools, and they decided to focus a lot of their efforts on Batman stuff. And this right here, the Batmobile, is an exclusive, as far as I know, to Walmart here in the United States. I have no idea what international distribution looks like, and I apologize to my international viewers because a lot of the times I forget to address that. So I'm very sorry that I don't know what that looks like. I certainly hope Spin Master does have a plan to get it out there. Down here, it just talks about what it is, Flash Movie Batmobile. You see that it does include two figures. It has a little render right there, and it says, hey, the figure fits inside. But on the back, you can see that we have more of that awesome, vibrant red and yellow, and a great render. It is kind of funny because you can see that the render on Batman, much like the previous Batman figure we looked at, does not have the black eye paint around the eyes. It's just flesh tone, so it looks kind of funny. And this is a really beautiful render of the Batmobile and makes it look a lot bigger than it actually is, which is pretty misleading. If you're curious, this is the barcode or UPC right here and all the information on the bottom. If you're wondering how I got a hold of this, I went on the Walmart app and I kept saying that I wanted my items in store, and then I would change my location to different Walmarts and then search for DC Comics Batmobile, The Flash. And eventually, if you get a store that has it in stock, it'll show and you can do in-store pickup, which is what I did because this was the last one at my local Walmart. So these things are going to sell. This does cost right at about $33, $33, $34, I'm not sure, it's somewhere in there. Let's go ahead and take it out of the packaging. Alrighty, and here it is out of the packaging, the brand new Spin Master 1989 style Batmobile from the Flash. So let's go ahead and talk about first impressions. Even though at the low angle that I have my camera at right now, the Batmobile does appear to be pretty large, right, in the shot. But the truth is, it is a very, very, very small vehicle. And so we definitely want to talk about that just right away. Even for 3 3/4 scale, it is a little shocking when you first see the packaging. Usually I'm always a little surprised by how large some of these Spin Master Batmobiles are, but here, this is the first time I've ever had the opposite kind of interaction where it's like, oh, okay, that is little. I'm going to go ahead and take this out for now. This is just the base stand that came with the Batcave playset from the Batman toy line from a year ago. So I'm just going to take that out so that you can more understand the scale, because I don't want to be misrepresentative. And you can see that now, once the angles are adjusted and things, and you see the figures just standing with it, this is little. It comes off a little bit better, I think, forward than it does to the side. And you'll understand more about that with comparisons later. But let's focus on the car first, and we'll get to the figures. But aside from the size of it, I really do think that it looks good. This is an accurate representation, and in a lot of ways, a lot more accurate than the McFarlane car is. when it comes to proportions of things like the canopy, and we'll get more into that in comparisons. This canopy is a lot more low and tank-like, which is what it should be, and something where they kind of missed that trick on the McFarlane one because they were trying to make sure that figures could fit in and they were trying to cheat it. Let's talk about some of the sculpted details on it. A lot of people are probably going to be wondering, do the guns pop up? No, these are just sculpted details. And I'm pretty sure that in the current state of mind that DC and Warner Brothers are in, you're never going to be able to have guns pop up, like submachine guns pop up out of a Batmobile or a DC product. So I do not hold that against Spin Master. I'd say that probably would have been the action feature that they would have gone for if they were allowed to, but they couldn't. I'm sure they couldn't. On the side, the sculpting is really nice. You get those little engine details, and I think they did a good job, and I like how they highlighted them in silver because you can see more of what they're doing. Over here, I do not like how the big exhaust thing, or whatever it's supposed to be, is silver. I think that that really calls attention to it in kind of a negative way. The McFarlane version, that is something it has on this, is that was just black to match the rest of the car. And I think that you'd be a lot better off, you know, to take this piece out somehow. And I'm sure it's a separate piece that can be detached one way or another. It may require a little bit of effort, and just paint this black because I don't think that it goes very well at all. On the back, you have the fins, which were separate pieces, I think, at some point, and were then attached in the production process. I do like how they did the exhaust back here, though, because it is a really nice, very silvery kind of gray, very shiny. And I do like how they did the tail lights, which I think look a little bit better than the way McFarlane did them, because there's a little bit more sculptural detail in there. The vents look really nice on the back. There is no paint, unfortunately, on the little bat logos on the tires, on the hubcaps. And then we have the front, which will also probably be a point of controversy. I do feel like the color that they chose was better than what McFarlane did, because it's a little closer to yellow while still being muted, which is pretty much perfect for the '89 Batmobile, and not so orangey like the McFarlane car was. However, the turbine on the front is, I have some issues with it. I think, number one, it's too skinny, and it looks, you know, kind of weird. And so I don't, yeah, it's kind of strange. I think part of that, though, is being enhanced by it being silver, just like the exhausts on the sides. It's a little strange, so I don't really know what the thinking was there. Maybe they were just trying to give it a little extra color, a little extra pop or something. But then again, we've not seen the movie. Who knows? Maybe when we see the movie, these things will be silver and this will be silver and all will be forgiven because it's movie accuracy. But another point about that is this canopy, which, like I said, is far better than the one that McFarlane provided. It's just black, just matte black like the rest of the car. Nothing shiny or anything. Everything is just matte plastic. And I think that maybe this means that the gray canopy might not be a detail in the movie, but we'll just have to wait and see. They're keeping the Batmobile kind of under wraps in the trailers. They are not showing really much of the Batmobile, and I can only imagine that there's probably some major action, including the '89 Batmobile. So we'll just have to see what happens. On the bottom, I actually laughed out loud when I got the car out. Here, I'll play the clip. I had the camera still running, and in the background you can hear my reaction. Look at this. There's an entire space, like an inverted, like empty space, negative space, where you could turn the car upside down technically if you wanted to, and there's so much space that Batman can pretty much like set in there in some ways. Heck, he can stand in there, and look how deep it is. This has to be one of the most desperate attempts I've ever seen to save money on something. Like, it's like, you're really going to hollow out like this much of it? It's hilarious. You know, you see this kind of thing a lot, but you never see it to like this sort of extreme. I don't even know what to say about that. That is like a new level of money grubbing. Anyway, you do have some okay engine details and axle and things. I don't really care about any of that. You're never really going to see it. And I don't even really care that much about this, but it is hilarious. And it also leads to the Batmobile feeling really light. I know it's small anyway, but it is a very light feeling vehicle. So, of course, one thing is the tires down here. The wheels are just plastic, and they're not even textured. Of course, I know why they're not textured. It's supposed to just roll, right? And on the side, they do a good job of having a facade like they are, and they certainly look like they're rubber, but they are not. These are hollow plastic pieces. but it rolls pretty well. Pretty slight, honestly. Okay, so let's get to the canopy here. In order for the canopy to do its thing, they did a different approach than McFarlane, and they have it to where you pull this and you see this negative space right here. It just kind of, closes into it. I'm glad that McFarlane didn't take this approach because it leaves this kind of unsightly gap, and it's a little easier to not notice on a small scale like this, but on a big 7-inch scale or 6-inch scale, actually, vehicle like the one McFarlane did, this would have been huge. But like I said, for this scale, it's forgivable. Now, the inside. This is probably the best way I can show you. There's really not a lot going on in there, but at least they have one little panel that has some nice sculpting with all the different switches and the steering wheel and all of that. As for the seat itself, yes, there is sculpting for the seat. And yeah, it looks nice, looks as you would expect. Of course, you're going to notice right away this is a single-seater, and of course the car should be a 2-seater. I'll just show you real quick what that looks like with the Batman figure. You can forget the notion of getting 2 3 3/4 figures in there. It's probably not going to happen. They definitely did about the smallest version they could, and there's Batman in there. So he easily fits. Yeah, there's plenty of room for 1 figure, but I really think that they missed their opportunity to get 2 in there, because I feel like they could have. I feel like if they just worked on this a little bit more, put a little bit more effort into it, you could have got 2. If you want Barry to sit on his lap, then you can just throw him in there. Come on, son. I'm your new dad. But he's in there. Of course, we'll do some comparisons later, so stick around for that. Don't go just yet. I will show you the actual figures, and this will just be very quick because they're definitely not the highlight of this whole thing. Quickly, we'll just talk about the Spin Master Batman here. I am very impressed with Spin Master on this little Batman figure. I think they did a heck of a job. I really do. It looks a lot like Michael Keaton, even at this small scale, and it looks quite a bit better than my first sample that I got. There's no big cracked shoulders or anything like that, like my first sample that I had. Everything just looks tighter and nicer. The joints were fine. There's not a huge amount of range on any of it, but it is perfectly serviceable for a 3 3/4 figure, and you'll be able to hit most poses. I really like how they have a actual fabric cape, and it's not made of that like crappy, garbagey, like old Lego cape material. And I think it looks really nice. So good on them. I think there's things about the likeness that look better than the McFarlane figure. And that's kind of a shame, isn't it? But even at this small scale, you can kind of see things. He's a little bit more recognizable, I think, in some angles, in some ways, as Keaton. Also, the Bat logo is very straight on this, and that is really good for a 3 3/4 figure, honestly. We have young Barry here, as they're calling him. And of course, this is the version of Barry Allen from 2013. This is a very interesting figure to talk about because he is wearing a Batman Returns costume. Yes, he is. If you look closely, you can see all the machine-like and industrial-looking parts and the ab section that is unmistakable from Batman Returns. There's been some alterations made to the chest plate a little bit with some extra linings, but it's a Batman Returns costume. Even the boots are intact, and I think you can almost see the little Bat logos down there. So that's a great little bit of attention to detail. And he has knee pads on the sides. He spray painted them with the Flash logos. And we have a belt that's just kind of painted on with no Batman utility belt. There are no Bat gloves, and it appears that he's just wearing bike gloves with some elbow pads or something like that. And then up here you can clearly see the Batman Returns cowl piece, but again they have it simulated to look like he spray painted on the Flash logo. And up here you can see where they have cut the ears off of the Batman Returns cowl, and they've added on his, I believe these are his headphones in the movie, maybe. His eyes are looking okay. They're a little shifty, maybe. Yeah, I think this is such an original concept. I think when people first saw this, they were like, what? But it is a wild idea. It really is. This is a wild idea, and I think it's so much fun. This is very meta to take a Batman Returns costume and just alter it into this. So I don't have any issue with this. I think it looks really good. It's an impressive figure. Spin Master should be commended for how good of a job they did with these tiny little figures, because these guys are little. Let me give you a little bit of perspective. Look at this. The McFarlane Batman, he can't even be fit into the frame with him at this level. That's how tiny these guys really are. They really are true 3 3/4 scale. Interestingly, he is quite a bit taller than Keaton Batman, which may be accurate in real life. I'm not really sure. Keaton's not the tallest guy or anything. So yeah, I think they look fine together. I'm going to go ahead and do the most painful comparison right away. The difference that pretty much a year and a half makes. This is the Batman Batmobile right here, the big roadster from the movie. And this is heavy, it's massive, it fits 2 figures, it has opening doors, it has lights and sounds. Was the same exact price as this, pretty much, same exact price. Yes, it only came with just a standard Rob Pattinson Batman figure. And yes, these are in a larger scale. He's in actually a much larger scale. So yes, the car will have to be bigger. It says a lot about the toy industry. It says a lot about the economy. It says a lot about the direction we're headed in, because I really think economic factors caused Spin Master to scale everything down, and it caused them to lose features. And now, instead of a $33 electronic full-sized Batmobile with all the features, they're trying to sell a $200 like full-sized electronic Batmobile with all the features. So we are going to see just how much we can get away with charging and just make it an RC car. That feels disingenuous to me, you know, because it is remote controlled, of course, with the new '89 Batmobile they're trying to sell. It's in this comparison that it just murders it. It's this all day long right here, and the details are immaculate. So another really unfortunate thing, and this just really adds to the hurt here, is you've got rubber tires on the Batman Batmobile. And over here, these are plastic. And that is such a shame. The weight is unbelievably different between these two things. Of course, this has batteries in it, so that accounts for a lot of that. Here's a fun comparison. Of course, this police car isn't too far off from what the Crown Vics or whatever they were in '89, what they looked like. And it's funny because I knew right away when they released this item, which I think was a Walmart exclusive, if I remember from my old review with Commissioner Gordon, I knew that the scale was dramatically different than the Batmobile. But it is funny because it ends up being more in line with the '89 car. However, this is still too big for the '89 car. The '89 car should be at least as tall as this police car, but instead it's quite a bit shorter. However, you could definitely cheat it in a display, so I don't think that there would be anything wrong with that. But still, just so you know. Here's a silly comparison. We're going to do the gift with purchase 1989 Batmobile that you could get from Lego. This came as a gift with purchase only when you bought the giant Ultimate Collector Series Batmobile like I have. And it's funny just to see 2 different interpretations of the same vehicle. And yeah, I think it's fun. And if you really want to get nuts, we have my old Batmobile from Batman Returns, the one that I grew up with, my childhood Batmobile. And the scale is way bigger on this guy. Here's a great comparison just because it's so ridiculous. We have the McFarlane version of the new Flash Batmobile, and of course we have the Spin Master version. And as you can see, it is, I mean, the difference is unbelievable. So it's a huge amount of difference. But then again, you know, to put it into perspective, both of these cars are undersized for their respective scales. They are. So, you know, to put it in perspective, we have a 7-inch figure, and to put it in perspective, we have a 3 3/4 figure. So there is a similar kind of scaling happening here with both. And both companies definitely, you know, were trying to cheat it as much as they could to increase profits at a time when the economy is not so great. So that makes sense. It's understandable. It's unfortunate, but it's, you know, it is what it is. I will say that the canopy really stands out as being better over here. And over here you can definitely see, because once you see it, you can't really unsee it, how gigantic that canopy is. And I've been seeing it since the first time that they've unveiled it. It's still a great value over here. You know, this is $33, comes with a couple little figures that you may or may not already have. But this over here, you know, we're looking at something that's $60, maybe even less, depending on how you get it and where you get it. Awfully good deal for less than 2 times this price. You know, you get a much larger, more impressive vehicle. The turbine looks awful compared to this one, though. I mean, honestly. And of course, this looks so much better over here than this on the exhaust. You can see the fins back here from the side. Even though the pipes over here are so much better, the exhaust over here looks a little bit better, I think, with its design. I just think it's more visually appealing. The taillights over here have actual sculpting in them, and these are just big old flat pieces of red. You have this being a matte finish and this being a glossy finish. Now it's time for a fun segment called Can It Fit? So let's go ahead and see what we can actually get to fit in this Batmobile. Can young Barry Allen in his Batman Returns costume fit in the Batmobile? Why, yes he can. Can the Rob Pattinson Batman from the Batman line fit because he is in such a larger scale? Let's find out. Why, yeah, he can fit no problem. Can Doc Nocturnal from Mezco with his cloth wired cape, so that helps, will he be able to fit with his strangely preposed legs that you can only barely bend? Let's see just how forgiving this Batmobile is. Look at that, he's sitting pretty and boom. Can Kamen Rider Black fit in there? Why, yes he can. Look at that, even the antennas go in. Can Boss Fight Flash Gordon fit in there? Let's see. Well, what do you know? Flash fits right in. Look at that. Flash can drive around with Ted. They can have a good old time. Okay, I've been toying around, but let's try a more challenging subject. Can Popeye the Sailor Man from Mezco Toys fit in there? Let's find out. Popeye, the original animated superhero. Oh man, this is tough because Popeye has giant, Mickey Mouse feet. Maybe that's causing it to be a little more difficult. I'll tell you what, yeah, I'm not comfortable with trying to force Popeye in any further. Look at that. Oh no. Yeah, I was flying too close to the sun on that one. Will Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe fit right in? Will he? Look at that. Whee! Boom. Commissioner Gordon. Yay! Last little test here. I want to know, can the McFarlane Kenner tribute Superpowers Batman fit in there? I'm doubting it, but you never know. It is pretty spacious. This is a 5-inch scaled figure, and so I think I'm being a little optimistic here. Can he though? Can he really? Would he? Should he? Oh, come on, Batman. Don't give up. Yes, it just barely fits. You can put him in. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Look at this. He's in. He's in. It's just going to be a convertible. Whee! And now, can I get him back out? Clearly, we've demonstrated that there's a very versatile cockpit in here. It really is. It's more forgiving than you would think it is. So good for them on that front. All right, so final thoughts and opinions on this. Like I said, this will run you about $33, $34, something like that. Do I think it's worth it? I think it mostly is. I really do, because you can buy these figures separately, and right now I think they're $8 or $9. I think $9. And Batman, when you buy it separately, does include the grappling gun and the Batarang, so you are missing that. Although I don't really use those accessories too much with smaller scaled figures. If you take off $18, then you're looking at $15, $16 for the Batmobile. That feels good for this size of Batmobile. Keep in mind, I have it on that little display stand that came in the old Batcave playset that's on clearance everywhere now. So that helps it tremendously. That cheats the scale quite a bit. So if you want to do that, that's a great way to kind of make this thing more worthwhile. It is so sad that Spin Master, wasn't able to keep up that really good value proposition that they had with last year's product with the Batman. It's such a shame. And so I wish almost that it were the other way around, where the Batman car was the more modest of the two, because it's not meant to be a toyetic kind of thing. And I wish that this one was the one that was oversized and had all the features. And I know that they're doing that one that's an RC car. But $200 for that and a tiny little Batcave diorama and display stand. I mean, it looks nice, but $200 nice? I doubt it. Not in this century. So I'm just not seeing it. So this is probably the only 3 3/4 version I'm going to get, and I'm fine with that. I wish it were bigger. If it were bigger, I think all would be forgiven. I wouldn't even care about electronic features. I don't need any of that. Yeah, I still think it's a good deal. Clearly selling well, because like I said, this was the last one at my Walmart. People had been buying this thing. If you see it, I say grab it. It's still, even though it's not even sort of as good of a value proposition as the Batman car, this is still pretty good for your money. Spin Master is still giving you a good deal, but they're not giving you an outrageously good deal like the Batman version of the Batmobile was. And I think that's okay. We have to count our blessings. All right, friends, if you enjoyed this review, please be sure to subscribe and like the video because it really does help us out. And be sure to comment down below. Let me know. Was I too easy on this? Was I too hard on this? This is one of those reviews where it's kind of hard to tell what I'm saying because I have such conflicted feelings about it. And I think that that's apparent from the way I reviewed this and everything that I said. You kind of have to decide what's a big deal to you, and I think that that can ultimately be the deciding factor. All right, friends, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.
Alfred, what'd you do?
It appears I may have been a little overzealous with the shrink ray technology, Master Bruce.
You're fired.
I'll cancel the pizzas.